Haw Par Villa is an oriental theme park built in 1937 located off Pasir Panjang Road on the southwestern side of Singapore. It was built by a Burmese-Chinese entrepreneur and philanthropist Aw Boon Ha for his brother Boon Pa in 1937. The Aw brothers made their fortune through their most popular product, a pain-relieving heat rub called Tiger Balm, invented by their herbalist father Aw Chu Kin in 1870s. It is famed for depicting traditional Chinese legends, in particular the 10 Courts of Hell. Haw Par Villa contributed to the architectural scene in Singapore through the modern movement and the use of circle motif. The villa in Haw Par Villa was built by Ho Kwang Yew, one of the leading architects of the modern movement in Singapore. Ho typically favoured the use of reinforced concrete as this allowed for dramatic architectural curves and shapes as seen in the villa. However, Kwang Yew was killed by the Japanese army during the early days of occupation of Singapore in the World War II. The villa too was demolished after the World War II. Kwang Yew's company, Ho Kwang Yew and Sons, carried on after his death and went on to design many key modern buildings in Singapore, of which contributed to the Singapore's architectural scene. Next, Haw Par Villa's recurring theme in its compound, the circle motif, was meant to represent family harmony and was done on purpose to create a public space for families to visit and recount Chinese tales and stories. After the war and some restoration works, many locals and tourists visited Haw Par Villa in the 1970s and 80s on day trips and school excursions. In 1985, the Singapore Tourism Board gave it a $80 million facelift and renamed it Haw Par Villa Dragon World. Damaged statues were restored and facilities added. There were acrobatic and puppet shows and 2 water rides. This Disneyfication of the park seemed like a success in the first few years, and Haw Par Villa Dragon World became a popular tourist spot. However, the high entrance fees and the insensitive commodification of the park for the sake of tourism discouraged the public. After 10 years of operations, the management incurred a loss of $31.5 million. Thus, the Disneyfication of Haw Par Villa was deemed as a failure. Since 1996, admission of the park was made free. In March 2001, the Singapore Tourism Board renamed it Tiger Balm Gardens and restored it as a place of cultural heritage and an emblem of Boon Haw's generosity. More recently, the Singapore Tourism Board kicked off a Reliving Haw Par Villa event in March 2014, which showcased the iconic attraction and heritage park. The public participated in free guided tours, talks that offered insights into the history of Haw Par Villa, and were treated with cultural performances.
I think it's interesting. There's many different things to see that you don't see in other places. I think they should open their theater. They have a big auditorium and it looks closed.
有都应该要改变一下给旅客来观光的。这个历史剧情应该是政府要拿去做一下做美它，然后保留起来让它走。
就是他们是自建，那对自建之后就出来地摊，然后就收门票。我也就是说，这个都是在以前的时候现在没有。然后你让我如果要改进啊，我也不改。
Singapore's tourism is dependent on the ever-changing preferences of tourists. In the context of an island nation with limited land area, resources may have to be disproportionately allocated to tourist sites that are more able to generate profit. Today, with the glitzy Universal Studios Singapore, Marina Bay Sands and attractions like the Singapore Zoo and River Safari, tourists are not familiar with or particularly interested in Haw Par Villa in terms of its type and variety of entertainment. Thus, the fate of Haw Par Villa lies in the priorities of the Singapore Tourism Board, which has a strong influence over the promotion of tourist sites. Although the Singapore Tourism Board understands Haw Par Villa's significant cultural value and continues to seek ways to maintain its unique heritage and relevance, the future of Haw Par Villa remains uncertain. The Singapore Tourism Board is currently still in consultation with stakeholders and government agencies for the park's future plans.